What's up with everyone, Paul from Timeless Productions here, and today we're going to be getting every single achievement inside of Terminator Resistance Complete Edition. Now we are going to break it into three different parts, which is of course Main Campaign, Annihilation Line DLC, and Infiltrator DLC at the very end. And we're going to jump directly into it. So starting off, we begin with a soldier by the name of Jacob Rivers. We go ahead and we're inside Pasadena after our troop has been wiped completely out by an Infiltrator Terminator. Now at this time, the Infiltrator Terminators aren't exactly used as regularly, or that they're even used at all, because they haven't even been technically built just yet. We'll get into that way later on in the story, but an Infiltrator wipes out Jacob Rivers' complete resistance squad and team, and he heads down south in order to find the South Resistance leader and the team there in order for him to regroup with the rest of the resistance. Now, this leads us to Pasadena, in which case we begin right here with Terminators attacking the entire city of Pasadena and Jacob being involved in the actual attack and almost getting completely killed right at the very beginning of the game. Now, as this goes on, of course, the Terminator grabs us, throws us away, but luckily for us, a stranger helps us and saves us from the radio and allows us to basically make our escape as fast as we possibly can by crawling under a bus, because Terminators, for some odd reason, cannot crawl. Anyways, moving on a little bit further, we find two people, a sister and a brother by the name of Jennifer and Patrick, who tell us about more survivors that they are heading to a little bit towards the center of the town. Now, at this point, we're also introduced to dialogue and dialogue options. Now, they do have an impact, as you guys can see on the left side right there, that Jennifer was appreciative of the fact that we helped out Patrick when he was afraid of the Terminators attacking the city. Now, these will be very helpful later on inside of the story. We finally meet up with the rest of the survivors, where they tell us that we have to head out and see if we can find any more survivors that may have been stuck within the city that we hadn't seen on our way over. So we go ahead and tell him yes, and we head back into the city in order to find more survivors. Once we find our survivor, after taking out all the Terminators around her, we go ahead and head back towards the regular survivors. Now, grabbing survivors like this only happens once. This isn't like a thing where you could build a bigger survivor group, unfortunately. Once we get back, though, we end up in an ambush from the Terminators as they try to start the bus in order for us to get ourselves and all of the survivors out of the city as safely as we possibly can. So we hold off the Terminators and Skynet troops that are attacking us, and finally, the bus is operational. Once the bus gets operational, though, we get our first achievement, Close Call, which is for escaping Pasadena with the other survivors. Pretty simple, very easy. Now, most of these are story-related achievements. Some of them are miscellaneous, which are very simple to get. Especially, you can get it in your very first run-through of the game, as long as you're paying attention to the achievements that you need and when you can actually obtain these achievements. We grab our next achievement for crafting 6 items, which our achievement is Handyman, and that's for crafting 5 items successfully. Now, moving on from there, we head back into the outer world, where we go ahead and try to find some supplies for the survivors so that we can actually hold out at this house that we had found just before. We head out here with the other soldier by the name of Colin. It's a bald-headed dude who's kind of an asshole, but we won't talk about how much of an asshole he is. We go ahead and head over here, though, to a side mission for Patrick called Not a Toy, where we actually end up finding our first note on the way, which grants us our third achievement, Journalist, which is, of course, to find a note. Very simple and very easy. Once we, though, head over and do the actual side mission, we find ourselves a dog that is, for some reason, just sitting inside of this room, and we bring this dog back to Patrick. Now, once we complete this side mission, we go ahead and grab our very next achievement, which is, of course, number 4, and that's for completing a side mission, not a mission priority. Now, moving on from there, we head into a warehouse after finding the resistance outpost and finding out that no one is at these resistance outposts. They've kind of just been abandoned or they were all killed off. Colin ends up finding a stranger. Now, this stranger is the guy who Rivers has been telling people is the one that attacked him. But he goes ahead and heads towards him, and after he heads towards him, we head to the warehouse. But right here, we grab our 5th achievement, Easy Money, which is for successfully opening 10 locks. Very simple. So once we get to the warehouse, we go ahead and follow the trail that Colin is leading us towards, where he's tracking down the stranger. Once we get close enough, though, we do end up hearing the death and demise of Colin, unfortunately. We continue through the warehouse towards Colin's trail and where the stranger is, but like I said, unfortunately, Colin ends up dead. As you guys can see, he is hanging from an actual pole in the wall. The stranger then attacks us once again. Now, this is the same stranger that Rivers had saw when he killed the entire squad of resistance soldiers that he was originally with. Though we are saved by the skin of our teeth by a random truck that ends up flying through the wall right into the Terminator, almost exactly where he's standing. Luckily for us, though, we are not injured too badly. We're just thrown slightly. Another stranger, a second hooded stranger. I know, this is kind of crazy. 2 hooded strangers in one go. Weird, very, very odd. But the second stranger comes out and talks to us and basically tells us that this Terminator is attacking us and this stranger is basically our friend and here to help us completely in surviving all of this. After we end up passing out, we end up back into the safe house a little while later, where we find Patrick, who told us that he went out for a scavenging run all by himself and he actually found us a bullet. Now, of course, the second we get up from the bed, we go ahead and grab the bullet, because why not? We then head up to the top and we actually get told we have to go to the medical district. We head to the medical district where we meet up with Jennifer and she tells us about the hospital. We need to go there for medicine and resistance soldiers might be trapped inside. We have to be very stealthy, though, because of the fact that there is T-800s, regular Terminators, within the hospital, and we cannot kill them with regular bullets. Now, on our way, though, we do find our first turret. Now, these turrets are going to be very helpful, not even just later on within the story, but for more achievements. We go ahead and hack our very first turret, which the hacking system in this game is almost incredibly easy. It's literally just playing Frogger. It's very simple. Like, if you can't do it, it's kind of the easiest hacking system any game has ever had. Anyways, once we hack our first turret, we go ahead and get our achievement for successfully hacking a turret, leaving us at 6 out of 36 achievements already. Our next achievement comes a little while later, where we get Taste of Your Own Medicine for killing an enemy with a hacked turret. So now we are at 7 out of 36 achievements, and we're running through achievements like it's nothing. Finally, entering inside of the hospital, we see the T-800s, and they're carrying resistance soldiers after interrogating them in these, like, medical kind of chairs. Once we head through the hospital, though, we do find the resistance soldiers hidden behind a gate, and they tell us we have to deactivate the gate before they can leave. We have to head down to the main computer and destroy it, and it will cause a hell of a lot of noise, attracting any Terminator in the area. After talking to the resistance soldiers, though, we get our 8th achievement, Contact, and that is just for talking to the imprisoned resistance soldiers in the hospital. Once we blow up, though, the computer and get ready for the millions of Terminators that are going to storm the hospital, the resistance soldiers leave, and we have to then head out of the hospital ourselves and head back to our hideout. Now, they did tell us that Baron would contact us, which is, of course, the leader of the resistance soldiers that we are heading towards. Once we leave the hospital, though, we go ahead and make our way back to the hideout. Though, there is a million different Terminators all attacking and basically marching their way into the hospital to kill us. Back at the hideout, though, we talk to Jennifer once again and basically let her know that we saved the troops and that the resistance is on their way. The very next day, the resistance soldiers come and contact us, and we have a conversation where they tell us that Baron wants to actually meet with us, so they set up a exact place. Baron and us go ahead and meet inside of this old ruined kind of subway system where we actually get ambushed completely by Skynet, who somehow knows exact whereabouts of everything we are doing, and no one knows why. During the ambush, we end up attacking and fighting back. We kill our very first T-800 though, grabbing us our next and 9th achievement, which is, of course, Hasta la Vista, baby, for defeating your first T-800 Terminator. Moving on though, we finally make it to the end of the subway system, and we keep running until we get to the new Resistance hideout, which is where Baron and her troops are stationed at. It's very simple, very easy. Like I said, this game is a very simple one. It's not too hard. I don't think I died even more than 4 times in this game. Once we get back to the actual hideout that they are, we get the achievement Coming Home for finding the South Division's Resistance shelter and grabbing us our 10th achievement of Terminator Resistance already. Heading into the main meeting room, we speak to Baron and tell her exactly about this Infiltrator Terminator that attacked our squad and killed everyone, and that we did not go AWOL like she assumes that we had done when we got attacked. Once we get over there, they tell us about upgrading our plasma rifle that we just got, and we grab our 11th achievement, Tinkerer, for upgrading our weapon. Now, the upgrade system in this game is absolutely the easiest upgrade system I've ever seen in my entire life. It's absolutely phenomenal, and I really love it. Moving on, though, we head back to Pasadena once again in order to find more supplies and to figure out exactly what is happening with Skynet and what they're doing. But we grab our 12th achievement, Researcher, for taking a good picture of an enemy. Very simple, very easy once again. Moving on, we then head for our 13th achievement, which is, of course, to destroy a flame Terminator by shooting the tanks on his back, which is It's a Bird. 13th achievement, done and easy. We then grab our 14th achievement for taking out a Terminator with the termination knife automatically, grabbing us Efficient Killer. Pasadena is a very big area for you to get a multitude of different achievements as well. Next, we grab our next side mission, and once we complete and grab Colin's stash, we get our 15th achievement, Priority to Me, for completing 5 side objectives within the game, which are not too hard at all either. They're very, 1-2 step objectives, so it's very easy to get that achievement. Next, we go ahead and lockpick this door that is just connected to a wall that's connected to nothing else, grabbing our 16th achievement, No Hope. Our 17th achievement, though, comes when we have to destroy a T-47 giant mech Skynet unit, which, again, we did in 2 seconds anyway. And we grab our 17th achievement, still counts as 1, just like that. Once we head through there, though, we go ahead and head into this area where we actually, when we head into the base, we grab our 18th achievement for successfully hacking 10 devices. Once we destroy the outpost, though, we get the achievement Blackout for destroying a Skynet outpost, grabbing us our 19th achievement. We're basically more than halfway done of this game at this point. We grab our next note during another side mission, which is Historian, for grabbing 10 notes and grabbing our 20th achievement. After we head back to the hideout from leaving Pasadena, we go ahead and speak back with Erin, give her Colin's stash to help out. Once we head to sleep, though, the stranger pops up inside of the hideout telling us that we need to get out right now. The Infiltrator is on his way and is ready to completely kill us all if we don't escape now. He even has a built-in tunnel system in order for us to leave the hideout very easily. Ryan, though, thinks that he's the Infiltrator, but we actually are revealed that he definitely does save us, and the rest of the group trust him. Though, after he gets thrown to the ground and the Infiltrator comes after us one more time, he blows up the entire old Resistance hideout, leaving us to only deal with the South Division Resistance shelter, and anyone that didn't want to be a part of them is stuck being a part of them anyway. We tell Baron about the news and about the stranger and the Infiltrator attacking us once again, and she takes us all in as good comrades. Next, we head to downtown in order to save the scientist Alvin that we saw earlier that helped us upgrade our weapon. Though when we get here, one of the troops tells us that basically a human soldier was leading the Skynet forces, showing us that it's either the same infiltrator or they have more infiltrators on their way. We fight through downtown against multiple Skynet units until we make our way to Alvin. Once we get to Alvin, he tells us that another person told us to take away the targeting systems, the automatic targeting systems, away from Skynet units for testing, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. Though we are bombarded afterwards, Alvin and Rivers make their way back to the South Division Resistance shelter. We then grab our 21st achievement, which is Escape Downtown with Alvin, and we are back inside of the South Division Resistance shelter. We tell Baron the news about the infiltrators, or Infiltrator, that is basically going around putting down all of our defenses so that they can completely destroy us like nothing and very simply. Next, we go ahead and grab ourselves the radios. We find dead resistance soldiers in order to see exactly how they are listening to us. We find out that they actually have taken the radios from dead resistance soldiers and have been listening to us the entire time that we've been talking on them. So they know every single move that we've made. Baron then says that we need to meet her at the docks over the radio in order to attract the Infiltrator to the docks and kill him once and for all. There we go ahead and set up an ambush and wait for the Infiltrator to approach so that we can take him out. Once the Infiltrator though pops up, we attack him, he gets sniped, he drops to the ground, but of course he is an Infiltrator, he is not dead. We all drop down and attack him, but he gets back up and begins to run away from all the resistance soldiers and fights back. Rivers then chases him completely through the docks all the way until he gets to an old warehouse where he goes ahead and corners him. Once he gets to the old warehouse and corners him, Rivers eventually, of course, kills him, and we grab our very next achievement, achievement number 23, Fool Me Once, for destroying the Infiltrator that has been stalking us throughout the entire game. We bring the body back to the main resistance shelter where we talk to Alvin about rewriting his computer chip brain. Alvin says he doesn't know if he can, so they have to get Dr. Mack in order for him to try to rewrite the chip. But Baron does not trust Dr. Mack after it was Dr. Mack who had gotten Perry killed, who was the old South Division Resistance leader. John Connor tells her it doesn't matter, that we need him, and that's that. So we head over to Hollywood Hills, but before that we turn up the radio that we grabbed from Ryan last mission in order to grab our 23rd achievement for turn up the radio for using Ryan's boombox to annoy Alvin. Now we go ahead and head over to Hollywood Hills. We then speak to Mack, and Mack tells us that we have to go through a series of tests before he can fully trust us that we are not a Terminator and an Infiltrator that is trying to kill him and completely convince him that we are a normal human resistance soldier that is not a robot. Once we get to Dr. Mack, though, we have to go through one more trial through a wine cellar, which is loaded completely with mines. Like, this guy is more paranoid than anyone in the entire world. Once we get to Dr. Mack, we tell him about a gun from the Infiltrator, if he can reprocess it so that we can use it, and if he can redo the chip inside of the Infiltrator in order to put that Infiltrator on our side. Mack agrees, but we have to steal the chip when we get back to South Division Resistance Shelter. When we get back, though, the stranger pops up once again, telling us that we need to get everyone outside of the Resistance Shelter now because something bad is going to happen and everyone will die if we don't get the old survivors that we found out of there as soon as possible. We then lie to them and get them out, and we also turn up the boombox so that we can distract Alvin once again and we can grab the chip and bring it to Dr. Mack so he can rewrite the chip so that we can get an Infiltrator on our side and maybe actually win the Skynet war. Next, we talk to Baron, where Baron tells us that she wants us to kill Dr. Mack because of what he had done that got Perry killed. We agree, of course, but we don't actually do it because of the fact that we need him to rewrite the chip. We agree to it, and she tells us to go ahead and meet her at her chambers if we need more convincing about it. Once we get over to her chambers, we have a conversation with her, and once you do enough of these, they appreciate you. You'll eventually get the prompt to pop up where it says that they trust you enough. Once they say that it trusts you enough, you can go ahead and do certain actions, save them, like when I convinced everyone to leave the place, or in this case, you can actually have sex with Baron, which is weird video game sex that I'm going to let the scene play out because it is absolutely the worst and awkwardest thing in the entire world. So please watch. After having sex with Baron, we head back down to downtown though. We actually have to get codes from an HK tank. So we have to destroy an HK tank in order to grab the codes from them and figure out where the main core for the Skynet units are. Once we destroy the HK tank and grab ourselves the codes with our little computer, handy dandy computer, we grab our 24th achievement, second generation, which is of course obtain Skynet security codes from a fallen HK tank. We then leave downtown and head back to Dr. Mack's office in Hollywood Hills. Once we get back to the bunker, we tell Dr. Mack that we have the AI chip for him and that he tells us about a teleportation device that Skynet is working on that he obtained from the codes. They are making it so that they can send Terminators back to the past in order to basically rewrite how the future will go. Of course, if you guys have seen the movie, you know exactly what I'm talking about, and it doesn't make any sense that this would not be in the game. So this is amazing that they put this in. After we head back to Baron and we lie to her, telling her that we killed Dr. Mack, when in reality we didn't. We just handed over the AI chip so that he can rewrite it for us, like I said earlier, and get this infiltrator on our side so that we can end this war once and for all. We then head over to Jennifer, which Patrick tells her that she's been kind of in a mood lately. We go ahead and have a conversation with her, telling her that she needs to leave with Patrick right now, or else bad things will happen because of what the stranger said. Once again, though, we have a weird, awkward sex scene, so I'm going to let this one play also again, just because, why not? It's really awkward and weird, and you guys have to enjoy it, or have to deal with it just like I did. After the weird, awkward sex scene, though, Baron tells us that this is our final push and we can destroy Skynet's main core because we have the coordinates. All we have to do is push in, destroy the main core, and the war will finally be won for the Resistance. Though, when we head into the observatory, we find out that the core is actually not even here anymore. It turns out that they have completely moved it. They knew every single step that we have taken thus far, no matter what we do or change. On our way, though, we do find the stranger once again, and the stranger is also very, very confused. So he hacks into the Skynet computer, trying to find the core once again for us so that we can actually go ahead and destroy it. Now, this all makes sense way later. It'll come up very, very soon, and I'll tell you exactly why this is. But until we get there, just know that the stranger is very, very confused. Like, he's actually confused. He's not in the mindset where he knows what's going to happen. Once we make our way out of it after destroying this base, we are bombarded once again and end up on the ground where the stranger also ends up dead. Unfortunately, we lost the stranger here, and he can no longer help us. Heading back to the Resistance headquarters, though, we find out that it was also attacked by Skynet during our attack earlier. The only one that survived is, of course, Baron, and she tells us that we need to get out of here and go find John Connor and let him know what happened. That somehow they know everything. They were able to completely blindside the Resistance, and only John Connor at this point can figure out what to do and can help us actually end this war. Of course, he is the Resistance leader. Heading through, though, we do end up getting caught by our own Resistance soldiers who think we're an infiltrator because of the fact that this news has spread all over the Resistance outposts, camps, bases, headquarters, you name it. Everyone knows that an infiltrator was around. They think we're an infiltrator, though, and end up knocking us out. Once we get back, though, we end up finding John Connor finally, and we have a conversation where he tells us that we are going in for our final attack. This is the final time for us to go ahead and end the war against Skynet. We go in with a multitude of forces ready to take on Skynet once and for all and destroy the main core. Fighting our way through absolutely unrelentless Skynet troops and forces, we make our way finally to the main core. Once we get here, though, the battle looks like it is completely over for all of us and that Skynet has won against us. They completely destroy and decimate our entire unit that went in, but fortunately enough for us, the other team that was on their way to the core made it to the core and destroyed it. Before we are killed by a T-800, the core is shut down and we are completely done with the war. Skynet has lost the war. But before that, they had lost the war and they destroyed the core. They had sent back 3 Terminators into the past. One to kill Sarah Connor before John Connor is born. The second one to kill John Connor when he is a kid. And the third one to kill us before we get to John Connor and tell him about the infiltrators, the main core, the teleportation device, etc. So, that infiltrator that was actually attacking us throughout the entire game was sent from the future, and that's why Skynet basically knew every single move that we had made and what we had done. Once we get back after destroying the core, though, John Connor tells us about that someone needs to go back and basically set everything right for Rivers' path. Now, the stranger before was Rivers, but we decided to turn it down in my playthrough, and we grab our 25th achievement, which is for beating the game on any difficulty. Now, we do get the good ending. I did get everyone out safely. I let everyone survive. I did everything as good as I possibly can. And Rivers actually has a happy ending, meeting back up with Jennifer and Patrick and living a happily ever after the Skynet war. Moving on to the DLC Annihilation line now, we wake up as a little kid, Jacob Rivers, who is on a trip with his father through his father's old school before the actual Skynet war. We head through, and now this is just a dream, but it's basically what happened to Rivers' father that we have no clue about. Now, this does take place in between the middle of the campaign. It is during the first section of the campaign, and then it pushes into the DLC, and then it continues before we end the full war. Now, once we find Rivers' father, he then tells us about a time capsule that he's had hidden here for years and years. We go ahead and find his father's time capsule, in which he takes out loads of different things from different people and an old action figure that he himself once had that he buried here. He gives it to Jacob Rivers, who plays with it for a second and keeps it as a memento. His father also finds some letters written to other people that were also inside of the same school. Now, with these letters, he holds it on to him, so we don't know exactly what they are just yet. An HK ends up finding us inside of the school, and Jacob and his father make a run for it to getting out of the school before they are completely decimated by Skynet, and they send Terminators in here to kill both of us. During it, though, his father ends up getting separated, and Rivers has to survive on his own and push through loads of Terminators with miniguns that are patrolling the school. Finally, we regroup with Rivers' father, and once we do, we end up getting completely attacked by Skynet once again, who ends up finding us and kills Rivers' father, Jacob, just like that, completely gunning him down in front of his father. Once we wake up from this horrific dream, though, we go ahead and grab ourselves our 26th achievement, which is Just a Bad Dream, which is to relive a past nightmare. Now, like I said, the storyline does take place between the events of the main campaign, and we meet with one of the greatest Terminator characters ever, Kyle Reese, who actually takes us on a secret mission that he has to take out the Annihilation line. We head to an old Resistance outpost, and once we get to this old Resistance outpost and we retake it, we grab our 27th achievement for retaking the Resistance outpost. After Kyle Reese tells us to basically find supplies so that we could lay low here for a while as we make our way up north towards the Annihilation line. And we need to figure out what happened to the Resistance soldiers that were here. We go ahead and grab some supplies that are inside of this old locker, but it looks like most of the supplies had been cleared out, like the Resistance soldiers just left. We end up heading deeper into the city with the squad, and once we head deeper into the city, we go ahead and grab ourselves our very next achievement for blowing up the antenna. Well, we're about to grab our next achievement, but we blow up the antenna just like that and head out before it explodes and kills us with a rope that we had found earlier within the city. Once we leave, though, we head towards the main objective within it, which is, of course, to take out as many Skynet outposts and figure out what is happening to the Resistance soldiers around here and that have dealt with the Annihilation line. We blow up the refueling station and grab ourselves our 28th achievement, Make 'em Hurt, which is to destroy the antenna and refueling station, bringing Skynet down a little bit more. We next find a survivor who is hiding out inside of a coffin called, I think it's Anselmo, whatever his name is. We find him, and once we get back to Kyle Reese, we grab ourselves our 29th achievement, Savior, and that is Rescue Anselmo, whatever his name is. We rescue him, though. We then fight through more Skynet troops until we make our way back to the headquarters. Once we head to sleep, though, we are attacked by Skynet once again, who kills the survivor we just found like 2 seconds earlier. We fight through the metro after an ambush from Skynet, and this giant Skynet robot is completely just decimating the metro right before our very eyes. We make our way deeper into the sewer system, grabbing our 30th achievement, Skin of Your Teeth, for escaping the Skynet ambush at the metro station. We head to a brand new hideout where Kyle Reese begins to kind of lose hope against fighting Skynet as we push ever closer to the Annihilation line. We also found out that in the Annihilation line, they are keeping human prisoners as basically labor workers. Next, we blow up an entire crane that they are using to build these labor camps, and once we do that, we get our 31st achievement, which is Planning Permit Denied for destroying Skynet's construction equipment. We push through, though, and make our way back to Kyle Reese, and we make our way into a Skynet research facility. Here, we snipe a bunch of Terminators right on the outside, but once we get further in, we find out that they're actually using the guy on our squad's appearance for the Infiltrator units. Somehow, they were able to get his look and his everything and build him into Infiltrator units. We have to then destroy the research facility, and on our way of doing that, we have to plant more explosive charges and faster than Pharaoh can. Once we plant more than or faster than she can, we get our achievement Quick on Your Feet for number 32, which is to plant the explosives in the facility faster than Pharaoh. We head out of the facility, destroying the Infiltrator models that are inside of it, and we stop the Infiltrator production line just like that, grabbing ourselves our 33rd achievement for stopping the production line. We then head further into the Annihilation line, and this time it is our final push, our final step into stopping the Skynet troops from completely laboring all humans that it can. We push through as fast and as stealthy as we possibly can, but the rest of the resistance troops also help us, and they appear out of nowhere, bombing and bombarding the entire facility. We head in and we find that giant Skynet robot that had been destroying the metro station as we were running out of it, called the Centurion. After enough firepower, though, we end up putting it completely down, grabbing our next achievement, which is of course number 34, and we finish the Annihilation line DLC just like that. Very good DLC, very not slow, very short though. And we also find Rivers' father, who is actually within this facility as well, who is still holding the letters from earlier. Kyle Reese then tells us that he has a picture that John Connor had entrusted him with, and that he has something that he's supposed to do in the coming time, which is of course the picture of Sarah Connor from Terminator 1, and we know exactly where that all leads to in the main story when they get to the teleportation device. Now, we did get the Fall of Rome achievement. Like I said, it did not pop up earlier when we beat the DLC. So we are at 34 out of 36 achievements with only 2 remaining. We then head into the final section of the game, which is the Infiltrator Mode DLC, which is very easy to get both of these achievements, and a very simple mode where you get to play as a Terminator yourself and this Infiltrator model and completely decimate resistance soldiers like it's nothing. And of course, it is the same exact look as the guy that was on our squad with Kyle Reese. We have to find 3 secrets for one of our achievement, and the first one we find over here in this bar once we connect the wires and start music. Our very next one is going to be within the school area, and it's of course the hand from the second Terminator. And our third one is inside of this hospital area, where we find a board of the Centurion that we destroyed earlier inside of the Annihilation Line DLC, grabbing us our 35th achievement for finding all 3 secrets within the Infiltrator mode. And our final and very last achievement is for us to complete the Infiltrator mode, which is to storm the Resistance commander's hideout, killing all Resistance soldiers and killing the commander and grabbing his actual clearance. Once we grab his clearance, we hack into the Resistance computers and find John Connor's name, his date of birth, and we also find his mother's name, which of course is Sarah Connor, basically telling Skynet that they can go back in time, kill Sarah Connor, and stop John Connor from ever being born. This really sets up the movies perfectly. This game is absolutely a phenomenal way of pushing it with the Terminator movies and makes it almost a complete seamless storyline. We grab our 36th and final achievement, Infiltrated, for finishing the Infiltrator mode. Now, like I said, I did love this game. Absolutely adore how seamless it is for the lore and the story to all fit together with the movies. And I'm very excited that I got to play it. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more content. We'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye, and remember to stay timeless.